Hey everybody, I'm Frank Kearney. I want to welcome you to our webinar today. I'm a DC lawyer practicing in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and all we do is represent people with serious injuries, whether that happens out on the roads, in a car accident, in a hospital or doctor's office due to medical malpractice, or of course on the job or due to a construction site accident, something like that. That's all we focus on. So I want to give you a lot of great information today about accidents here in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. But before we begin, I want to extend a real warm welcome to everybody watching, of course, but especially to my clients and former clients, people that we've helped over the years. Really appreciate all your support and that continuing relationship that we always have. We're like a family here, and a lot of it has to do with the great people that we are privileged to represent and help. So let's get right into it. Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. We've got the Beltway, 495, 270, 295, I-95, 395. We've got a lot of people on our roads. We've got a large population center here. We've got a lot of construction and work trucks out there as well. And let's face it, we've got a lot of drivers who are driving way too fast, weaving in and out of traffic, aggressive driving, texting. And as a result, we've got a lot of accidents in this area, a lot of unfortunate, really bad crashes. All you have to do is check out the local news every night to see that. Unfortunately, the chances for all of us are, that we may get in an accident at some point here in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. So the question is then, what do you do when that happens? And that's what we're going to talk about for a few minutes today, okay? Now, first, let's start with what do you do right after the accident when an accident happens? Well, there's 4 or 5 steps that you can take that'll really help you, I think, to kind of get things going, okay? Not just for your case, but for your health and your welfare. And that's what we really focus on. So first, get pictures of anything, at the scene that is important, like the damage to the cars and the placement of the cars. Maybe the person who hit you or the truck, if it's got a big sign on the side, or the license plates. Those kinds of things so you can document it, okay? If the police come, of course, give them the honest answers to their questions and let them know exactly what happened. But get the officer's card or his name and number. Write that down. Or sometimes they'll give you a police report number. The police report itself won't be ready for, a week or 10 days or so. But you'll get that number, and that'll make it a lot easier for you to get the report then when you need it. Then the third thing also is, of course, get the names and the phone numbers of any witnesses who stop and try to help or say that they saw the accident. Don't rely on the police officer to do that because, the witness may leave early, or the police officer may write it down wrong or forget to put it in his report or his notes or what have you. But you want that documentation as well, okay? So those are 3, pretty basic things to do. Now, what's the most important thing to do? Well, that's get the medical treatment that you need. If it's a bad accident and you've got to go to the hospital, you need to take an ambulance to get there, we'll do that, okay? If you need somebody to take you to the hospital later that day, maybe because you're not feeling well, do that. Or if you need to follow up with a doctor, do that. You really want to get that squared away in the beginning to make sure that you're okay. Now, look, obviously we all know our own bodies, and you've got to trust that. If you've got a minor fender bender, you don't need to rush off to the hospital if you weren't hurt. I'm not saying that at all, okay? What I'm saying is, if you've got a serious injury or significant injury, don't delay in getting the treatment because you don't know necessarily the extent of the damage yet, of the injuries that you have. So that's one of the things you want to really focus on. And we tell everyone that we help that's really the thing that we focus on, is getting the medical treatment that you need, getting yourself squared away, and then your case comes second, okay? And anything you need then comes second. So those are kind of the basics of the right away phase after the accident. Again, number 1, always get the medical treatment, okay? You've got plenty of time also if you've been hit by another driver. You don't need to feel rushed. You don't need to feel worried or stressed about that. Okay. Now, what do I mean by plenty of time? Well, there's a statute of limitations in all three jurisdictions: DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And that just means that's the time limit for you to file a lawsuit, to file a case for any kind of injuries that you have against another driver, against another person, against another company. Okay. And in Virginia, that statute of limitations is 2 years. So you've got 2 years from the date of your accident to do that. Plenty of time. In Virginia, and excuse me, in DC and Maryland, it's 3 years. So you've got even more time. Okay. So there's no need to rush into any decision. And that's important to know, because insurance companies, the other driver's insurance company, they're going to be calling you. They're going to be sending you stuff. They're probably even texting you if they have your cell phone number. Okay. They're going to want to get a statement from you. They're going to want to get a lot of information from you. And they're going to say things like, look, if you don't get back to us in 30 days or in 15 days or something, we're going to close your claim, or we're going to close your file. What does that mean? Well, it means absolutely nothing, okay? It's got no legal definition at all. You don't have to worry about it. They can close your claim on Tuesday and open it up again on Wednesday for you, all right? The important thing is that you take the time, you not rush into things or talking to the insurance company or signing anything that could hurt you down the road until you're really sure, until you know the extent of your injuries, okay? Now, look, same thing with lawyers, right? I mean, you may get contacted from lawyers or people who know lawyers, or TV ads or what have you. Think you've got to rush to sign up with a lawyer? No, it doesn't work that way at all. It shouldn't work that way at all. Okay, you want to take the time. You want to focus on your recovery. You want to take the time to find and choose the best lawyer for you and your family. And I'll tell you, we've got lots of great information. We've published a book on this. We've got forms and guides that'll help you make the best choice for you and your family. Okay, even if that isn't us, that's fine, because we only represent people with really serious injuries. And we do that because we only take on a case if we can add value to it. All right. So we can't always do that with a small case, and we'll be the first ones to tell you that. So we give specific attention and do things in a specific way. We've got a whole process, a whole system of doing things for anyone who's been seriously hurt. Okay. But again, the big thing is, don't rush into that decision. Take the time so you're feeling better, so you're making the best decision for you and your family. And I think that's really important. Now, what's the basic process for an injury case? Okay, here's how it works. It starts with an evaluation of the accident. What does that mean? I mean, that's everything that has to do with the placement of the cars, the speed of the cars, the collision, determining who was at fault. Sometimes that means hiring an accident reconstructionist to reconstruct the entire scene and the accident and to do all the calculations to show that one person was at fault, or maybe more than one person, and that caused the injury. Now, the other thing, of course, is analyzing and determining all the injuries, the extent of the injuries. And what that means is all the surgeries, the hospitalizations, the rehab, the future medical care and treatment that someone may need because of these injuries, the impact on their ability to work. Can they work in the same job? Are they never going to work again? Can they work in a job where they're not going to pay as much because now they have these physical injuries or limitations? Those are all things we analyze as well, together with the or in addition to the accident scene. Now, the other thing is, of course, which is really critical, is determining the amount of the insurance coverage or the other assets that are available to compensate you for all the harms and the losses that you have after the injury. And how do we do that? Well, there's a lot of ways to do that, and it's varies from specific situation to specific situation. But I'll tell you one thing, and we'll talk more about this at the end in a few minutes, is Um, Uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage is critical. Okay, we'll have more on that later, but we highly recommend that you increase, for most people, increase their coverage for uninsured or underinsured motorist collisions, because that protects you in case you're hit by someone who doesn't have insurance or doesn't have enough insurance to make, to compensate you to pay for the harms and the losses that you've sustained because of the injury, because of the collision that someone else caused. Excuse me. You've got to determine whether there are any liens on recovery, whether there's any subrogation, depending on if you have health insurance or what health insurance company you have, if you have TRICARE, if you're military or Medicare or Medicaid, or workers' compensation. If you're on the job when you get hit by another driver, you can have two cases, one a workers' compensation case, one a case against the other driver, and there's a lot of interplay or complexity with those two. So there's things like that to analyze to make sure that you're maximizing your recovery, and that you're obeying the law as far as any rights of repayment that you may have if, for example, Medicare or Medicaid paid for your medical treatment. They have a right to get repaid out of the settlement what they have paid for as far as your medical treatment. At that point, you may want to try to negotiate a settlement with the insurance company. That's often the time to start that process. How long will that take? Really depends. Again, depends on the extent of the injuries and a lot of different factors as well. How much future care you're going to need, how much insurance coverage is available, the strength of the case, how, can you really prove it was the other driver's fault or not? Okay. Or file a lawsuit. That's also the point where we file a lawsuit. Now, a lot of people think, well, it's got to be one or the other, right? Because I hear that a lot. Well, should we settle a case or file a lawsuit? And you can actually do both. And you can kind of go down these parallel tracks, do them both at the same time. Just because you file a lawsuit doesn't mean your case is going to trial. You can settle it at any point, and oftentimes we do. And oftentimes, that's the best thing for you. Sometimes it's the best thing to settle it without even filing a lawsuit. Okay. And again, that's going to depend on your specific situation and the whole analysis. Some of those factors that we just went through are going to be really important in determining that, and making sure that you don't make a mistake, making sure that everything's done correctly, and in your best interest. So that's a little bit about how that process works. Now, for a lawsuit, realistically, you should have a pretty severe injury to file a lawsuit. And that's because of the cost and expense and time that it's going to take for that lawsuit to go through the process. Okay. Let's say you file a lawsuit and you serve the lawsuit on the company or the person responsible. What happens next? You go through what's called discovery. And that means hiring expert witnesses and working with them on your case, maybe to prove how the accident occurred, how it was the other person's fault, how the injuries occurred within the car, or however it happened, the forces that direct those, and of course the medical experts, who would testify about your surgeries, your hospitalization, your rehabilitation, that those were all caused by the injury, and then describe all the things that you went through. Those are a couple of examples of the types of expert witnesses that we typically use in these kinds of serious injury cases. Depositions, taking depositions of any witnesses or other doctors who may have seen you, healthcare providers, you yourself, of course, will almost certainly go through a deposition, and preparing for trial along the way. And that's kind of the basic outline of the process for an injury case or a serious injury case. Now, there's a lot of reasons, like I said, to file a lawsuit, a lot of good reasons. But again, you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing for you and your family, and that's the best thing for you. Okay, so that's kind of the analysis that you're going to go through to determine whether that's in your best interest. And if it is, that's great. This is sort of a broad overview again of sort of the process and how it goes. The Now let me give you what I think are 5 major myths or misunderstandings, and I've gotten a couple of questions about these recently, and we get some variation of these all the time, over and over again. Okay, so myth number one, you can't use your health insurance for medical treatment from a car accident. Okay, that's not true. You can use your health insurance. That's what you pay for, and you pay the premiums. That's what it's there for. Now, sometimes you may go to a doctor, and I would say an unscrupulous doctor who says, or his office says, we don't accept health insurance for car accident cases. Okay, now ask yourself, why is that? Why would a doctor not accept insurance? Doesn't make sense. Well, that doctor's office is going to have you sign a contract, like an assignment or a contract that indicates that you will pay the full amount of his or her charges out of any settlement. And it's going to say that even if your case doesn't settle, you're going to pay the full amount. Okay? Now, why should you not sign that contract? Why is that a bad idea? Well, if you have health insurance, if you have Blue Cross or Aetna or United or what have you, they're going to pay a portion of the doctor's charges. So if you go to the doctor and it's a $200 fee, well, Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United, any Medicare, what have you, any health insurance company is going to pay just a portion of that. So maybe they only pay $120 out of that $200 visit. Okay, let's say even if you have to pay back Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or whoever your health insurance company is, okay, you're only paying back the $120. You're not paying back $200 because they didn't spend that. The doctor writes off the additional $80. Okay, but what happens if you don't use your health insurance? Well, then you're on the hook for that $200. What happens if your case goes south, if something happens and you lose your case, or it doesn't settle, or it doesn't settle for very much? Well, you still owe the doctor the full amount of his or her charges for that treatment. Okay, that's why that's usually a bad idea, and we never recommend it. Okay, I know there are some doctors out there who do it because I hear about it occasionally. I don't like it. I don't think it's right. I don't think you should do it. Okay, number 2. Here's another misconception. The other driver's insurance company is going to pay for your medical treatment, your medical bills as you go along. Okay, doesn't work that way. What happens is, if you're successful in your case, if you can win your case or settle your case, then you'll get one lump sum amount for all your damages from the insurance company. And from that, you would have to pay, any medical expenses that are left over, or any charges or what have you. Okay, so those are paid really at the end. And again, going back to our example, if you had health insurance, you would probably pay back your health insurance a portion of the actual charges. Okay, but the other driver's insurance, whether it's Geico or State Farm or USAA or Travelers or Allstate, they don't just pay for your medical treatment as you go. You may have what's called medical payments coverage or personal injury protection in Maryland, it's called. That is something on your policy that's usually relatively limited, like 5,000 maybe is a pretty typical number. That can often be used to pay for medical treatment as well from your injuries. Okay, so that's another potential source of recovery or of ability to pay for the treatment that you need. Okay, but the other driver's insurance company, you can't just bill them or send the bill to them. It doesn't really work that way. They wait till the end. They make one payment to you, and then that's it. That's the settlement of your case. It's not as you go. Number three, if you were only partly to blame in the accident, then and the other person was, mostly at fault, then you can still recover, and it'll, just be apportioned or adjusted. Okay, and that's false, because here in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, the law is if you were at all responsible for the accident, it's called contributory negligence. If you were contributorily negligent in the accident, you can't recover a dime. You're going to lose that case, okay? And all the insurance companies know that. There's only 5 or 6 places in the country that have this kind of a law, contributory negligence. We got it right here in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. All 3 have it. So that's one thing to really be aware of when you're starting a case, especially if you're starting it on your own, because that's a big stumbling block, big hurdle, and big. It's just getting zeroed out. I mean, it's you lose if they can show you were responsible, even in a small part for the case. Okay, even think 1% responsible, you lose. So it's a really harsh, harsh law that we have in this area. But that's the system we have. So you got to be aware of it. You got to know about it. Okay. Here's another one. Number 4, another big myth, I would say. You should go to a doctor that a lawyer sends you to. Okay, that your lawyer sends you to. All right. So, here's how it works. You would contact a lawyer, and he would say, or she would say, well, here, I've got this doctor that we work with. I want you to go see this doctor. We'll set up the appointment. We'll do this. We'll do that. Okay. We don't do that. I think it's a bad idea. And here's why. Insurance companies know who those lawyers and doctors are. Okay. And what kind of a doctor gets a lot of patients from a lawyer? Is that really going to be a good doctor? Really somebody who's going to be looking out for you and your best interest medically? Or is that someone who's going to be, beholden to his or her referral source, to the lawyer? Okay. Same thing with the lawyer. Why does the lawyer have to control your medical treatment or affect that at all? That's something that we've never understood. Okay. And that's not the way that we work. And you better believe it that if your case goes to trial, the jury is going to know that the lawyer sent you to the doctor. They're going to think they're working together. Okay. They're going to think that, at best, the bills and the treatment are inflated and maybe it wasn't all necessary. At worst, they're going to think you're making it up, or there's some kind of fraud going on, or the lawyer and the doctor are in cahoots. Okay. We don't do that. We think it's a bad idea. And, are there times when you may need a specialist and, you don't have a doctor? Go to your friends, go to your family, go to your minister, go to anyone who works in healthcare, or someone who's had a similar accident or injury or sports injury. Okay. And, certainly if you don't have any other place to go, there's got to be lots of ways to find, a good, competent doctor. There's so many of them here in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Okay. So I think that's a key thing to kind of watch out for. Some lawyers sort of brag about this. I think it's, I don't think it's very good, and it's going to hurt your case. And especially if you have a serious injury, you don't want anything to do with that. Okay. Now, number 5, this is a big myth, and this is one that is probably the worst, and we see it a lot, and it hurts people. Okay. Here it is. You think you have full coverage for any accident because you've had insurance with, Geico, USAA, Travelers, State Farm, whatever, for 20 years, and you've been a good driver and you pay your premium all the time. Okay. That's all well and good, but you need to make sure that you have enough uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage to protect you and your family if you get hit by someone in the DC area who doesn't have very much coverage or doesn't have any insurance at all. Now, think about that for a second, because I've had this really hard conversation with people, and honestly, one person just recently um, over the years, and it goes something like this. They get in a terrible accident, very seriously injured, hospitalized for a long time, need a lot of future medical care and treatment, can't work again, can't go back to work, and the other driver has $25,000 in coverage and no other assets, no real way to pay for any of the significant damages that the person has. Okay. And maybe they have 50,000 in coverage or $100,000 in coverage, but it's still not going to be enough. I mean, that one, your initial hospitalization could easily be over $25,000. What happens in that situation? Well, if you have uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage that is higher than the defendant's limit, then your insurance company is going to step into the shoes of the person who hit you, or the company who hit you, basically, okay? And your insurance company is going to pay the excess over what the limit is for the driver or the company who hit you. And it's very important. It's really great protection. I've got it for myself, for my family, and it's not real expensive. And I think, you should really look at that, contact your agent, whoever that is, or your company, and consider raising those limits. Because remember how expensive healthcare is. And if you live in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, you're probably making decent money. I mean, how much are you going to lose if you're out of work for 3 months? That's a lot of lost income, okay? How much are you going to lose if you're in the hospital for 2 weeks? Or if you need 3 or 4 surgeries? Or if you need home health care for a period of time? Those are all things that are really tough to think about and talk about, okay? But really important when the time comes. So that's something to really keep in mind as to, what we hear about full coverage. Yes, you can legally drive around, depending on the state, with, let's say, $25,000 in coverage. Or Virginia, you don't even need to have insurance. You just pay a fee, several $100s, and you can drive without car insurance. Is that going to be enough? I mean, is that going to be enough to help you and your family if something really bad happens out there? And that's what it's there for, and that's why I recommend it. Okay, and I recommend it to everyone. Now, kind of like I was saying earlier, we only take cases where we can add value. Okay, really make a difference in our client's life and their family's life, and really take care of them. That's why we only take cases with really serious injuries. All right. So what I'm going to say next is a little bit controversial. I got to warn you. But here's the reality. Okay. You may not need a lawyer for your car accident case. And here's why. If you've got a relatively small injury, relatively minor injury, and you've recovered from it, you didn't miss much time from work, you didn't need much medical treatment, you got yourself checked out, you know your body, you're squared away, you're not going to have any more problems, you can settle that case on your own with the insurance company. You don't really have to hire a lawyer. And quite honestly, we've got so much information and resources, including our book. We've got a guide on accident cases in the DMV that will kind of go through all of this with you a little bit. The analysis of, should you hire a lawyer? What should you look for in a lawyer? Do you need a lawyer? Can you handle the case on your own? What to expect with a case? What to expect with the process? All of those kind of factors and analysis, okay? And we actually give this away for free to any family, any person in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, all right? So if you need that, please reach out to us. You can call us at 393-3320, and we'll send out a free copy to you today. You can email Brooke Berkey at our office. That's BIRKEY at DKLLP.com. And we've got other forms and guides that'll kind of help you make that determination as well. And, a little bit about what to expect. Okay. Now, would I say this would I recommend that you handle your case, or say this if you have a serious injury, okay? If you've had hospitalization, surgery, rehab, you're out of work for a long time? No, that's a whole different ballgame. All right. There's a lot of complexity to those cases. There's a lot at stake. You want to make sure you understand and know about all the potential sources of recovery, all the insurance that may be available out there, any of the subrogation rights that other people may have, and take care of so you can take care of yourself, your rehab, and your medical treatment. Okay, so that's one thing. I mean, it's complicated, but the real reason, I would say, if you've got a serious injury, that you need to have and find the best lawyer for you and your family is this. Okay, while you're recovering, you got to focus on your rehab. There is a lot of stress and anxiety and worry in the process in dealing with an insurance company, in being afraid that you're making a mistake, in doing maybe what other people have said, or constantly looking on the internet for other information to try to help you. Really what we do is we take away the stress and the anxiety and the uncertainty for the people that we work with, for the people that we help, so you can focus on getting better. And that's really what it's all about. Again, that's why we only handle serious injury cases as well, so we can really commit our time and our resources, to the people that we can help. So those are the basics, I would say, on what to do if you've had a car accident here in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I do want to give you something of value, though. We're all about value and helping people, and I want to do that for everyone who's watching or listening today to this. And so I'm going to make you a free offer, unconditional offer. Guaranteed, no obligation. You don't buy anything. You don't register for anything. Okay, nothing like that. Totally confidential. And it's this. We are happy to analyze your current car insurance coverage and give you our thoughts and our advice as to whether that's adequate. And all you need to do is send us a copy of your declarations page. That's the copy that shows your premium and all the different coverages that you have. You usually get it every 6 months or so. And then really we just need to ask you, 4 or 5 questions, and then we can go through it with you and make recommendations as to the amount or the extent of the coverage you have, especially for uninsured motorist coverage or underinsured motorist coverage. Okay, so if you want to take advantage of that, and please do. Like I said, it's free, no obligation. We don't charge for it. We don't sell insurance. We don't have anything to do with insurance companies other than we sue them all the time. We just want you to have the best information for you and your family. So here's how you do it. You can simply call us, 202-393-3320, and then we'll get you, kind of the instructions on how to do that and send that to us, okay? Again, it's all totally confidential. We only talk to you about it. And then the other thing is you can email Brooke Berkey, and again, that's BIRKEY at DKLLP.com, okay? So if you'd like to take advantage of that free, no obligation, no hassle offer, please do. We are happy to do that for you as a thank you for watching. And of course, if you need anything at all, if you have any questions about this or anything else regarding serious injuries, whether they happen on the roads, here in DC, Virginia, Maryland, or at hospitals or HMOs or doctors' offices, or of course construction sites or other workplaces, please call us. We are happy to we're happy to help, and we're happy to give you as much information as you can. All right, I want to thank you again for watching, and have a great day. Thanks.